Are any insurance carriers, the big carriers, doing anything that you know of? Are they involved?
U.S. Health Group has done comments in the past. They are tied into this. That is the only carrier network I'm aware of that's lifting a finger. AmeriLife is participating with Reach. They're not a carrier, of course, but they are assisting in the efforts. But that's about it, man. The carriers and the IMOs and most of these companies, they've really missed the bus on this to some degree. And look, it is what it is. I mean, everyone's going to be living under the same rules. And that's, I think, zooming out again, that's kind of part of the hesitance of many of these companies is they think, well, look, this is a tough new rule, but we're innovative, we're smart, we can figure it out, and maybe our competitors can't. And it gives them an opportunity to outmaneuver their competitors, and so they're not really doing anything about it.
That is true. Well, that's a good time to segue into the 4 classes that I was going to ask you about. They were the agents and brokers. So if I'm an agent, a life insurance broker, and I'm making outgoing calls, are you at risk as a broker, as an agent calling? Are you at risk, first of all, and on what level? How so?
Absolutely. You're at extreme risk. You are the one in the front lines, right?
Yep.
You're the one who's actually making the call, and therefore you are the one who's going to be initially liable to the plaintiffs for the illegal call. And that doesn't matter if you tried in good faith to only call a valid lead and your lead supplier either lied to you, screwed up, or didn't follow the new rule because they didn't have a lawyer that was good enough to do it. So you've got to be really, really thoughtful about who you're buying leads from. Now, again, this new rule does not go into effect until January of 2025.
Yep.
So you've got time, right? Right now, and I know when I say that, like everyone's like, "Oh, okay, well then we'll deal with it in December."
I know.
Okay,
I know.
Do as you see fit. But I'm telling you, January 2025 is going to be here pretty quick. And when it is, right, it's like a light switch. One day it was light, and the next day it's dark.
So an agent being exposed, yes, and they're unaware. Let me add this to the mix right here too, because this is we put together a breakdown of the agents and their awareness, and without putting percentage on it, the majority of agents, they don't know anything about this. They don't know anything's even going on, truthfully. And I was at a convention last month of all insurance agents. You would think that this topic would be bustling across, right? It would be nonstop chatter about this. Not once was it really even mentioned. Not once, and it's a convention with carriers, IMOs, agents. Not even. I'm aware, and I'm just listening. I didn't bring it up a ton, except for specific people, because why would I break it right there? You know what I mean? They don't seem to care, for one. So they're not going to care until it harms. So, but there's a small percentage who maybe have heard about it, but they really don't know what to do, how to learn more, which is hence the podcast we're doing today, is to try to get this out, help them learn, because they're seeking. But there's another small percentage that no, they don't care. They don't care. They're going to keep moving. They think it's not going to affect them. They're in that mode, right? So, we can do some good here with this podcast for all these types, bringing awareness, not necessarily to scare people, but to bring the awareness up. But why would they be scared? There's never been any cases that anyone knows about where an agent got in trouble with TCPA. I mean, I'm sure it goes on, but no one in the industry knows about it. Why would they stop?
All the time. They get sued all the time. I mean, really? I had on my podcast, Deserve to Win, which is a YouTube channel podcast you guys should check out. There was a guy named Robert Dolfka, and he got sued. He was an independent that was selling to Allstate. And Allstate got sued. He got sued along with them. He had to lay off 12 people. He lost millions of dollars out of it. It happens all the time, man. This is not unusual. Really? Now, the truth is there's hundreds of thousands of independent agents, and there's only thousands of these lawsuits that are being brought, and only hundreds of them a year are against insurance agents. So, people are like, hey, I'm going to play my odds. Right. But you should not be foolish enough to think that you're not a potential target or that you're not liable. You are. Right. Now, whether or not you get sued, that's a different issue. But you are potentially liable.
OK, well, how would they get caught? When they get caught, let's just say, especially with the new rulings and the new rule, it's more likely now. I've read a couple of articles. They expect the litigation to triple this upcoming year, 2025, and I can see the numbers there. A major question that I keep getting: what is the FCC? What is the plaintiff's bar? What are they doing to catch these people? How are they catching them? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I know many agents, and a lot of people are going to be angry with me for spilling some of this, but they're not using their phone number when they call. They may use their first name only. They actually describe the entity from which they're calling as, they have the data in front. They know what county that person's in. So they're like, this is me. I'm with, such and such county benefit center. And so there's no way to track that person, even if that person said, like they usually do, go to hell and don't call me back. So how are they going to catch them is the question that everybody has.
Oh, trust me, you all are not as clever as you think you are. So it's very straightforward, right? You want to get paid, don't you? How do you get paid? You get paid through attribution when you write a policy. So if I want to find the caller, and I'm a guy that's wanting to sue you, and you're hiding your identity and you're calling from a fake phone number, well, I guess I'll just go through your process and find out who the carrier is. And then what usually happens is they'll start off suing the carrier, and then they'll tell the carrier, dear carrier, you tell us who made the phone call and we'll let you go. And you think the carrier cares enough about you, Mr. Agent, that they're not going to give you up? They'll give you up in a heartbeat. They'll give you up in a heartbeat. And then now you're sued, now you're found, now you're caught, and now you have to answer for your illegal call, for your spoofed phone number, for failing to disclose who you are. And every one of those calls now is not $500, which is the minimum violation for a single violation, but because each one of these phone calls now is 4 or 5 violations because you broke so many different rules, now you're looking at $2,500 a phone call. They'll subpoena all of your records. They'll get your carrier's records. Every outbound call you've made for a 4-year period of time will now be at issue in that case. Yeah, it's a big deal. Plus, you can't even use like a corporate LLC to protect yourself because in TCPA, there's personal liability, individual liability. So they'll name you personally in the lawsuit, and you might lose your house. Like, this is the way these things go. It's a terrible statute. It's very, very bad. It's very aggressively litigated. Again, people don't hear about it as much as they should because the litigation is not, I mean, truthfully, I think there's too much litigation, but yet compared to the number of violations there are, yes. I mean, arguably there could be even more litigation, right? And that's what's so funny, kind of like zooming out for a second.
Yep.
The plaintiff's lawyers, they focus so much on the wrong parties, in my view, because they want to get paid, right? And they know that they spend a lot of time on the individual agents who might be the ones that are causing the trouble. The agents many times aren't like super loaded, although some of them are, as you know, but many times they're not. And so they go after the brands more, right? And because they're going after the brands, they bring lower volumes of cases so they can focus their resources to really fight against the big whale, right? Whereas if they change their model and they were like, look, we're not going to fight against the big whale, we're just going to go take a net and catch all the tuna, they could just really be wiping out huge numbers of agents. They haven't done that yet, but that's something that you should keep in mind because that model could change at any moment. And then you could see a lot more of like the shakedown extortionist lawsuits coming after the agents rather than really just going after the whale.
You've just watched a segment of our interview with attorney Eric Troutman. We'll put another segment of this interview right over here. We really encourage that you watch this entire interview. We'll put that video right here. See you guys next time.